Hello and welcome to Team SI's Midday Roast. I'm Pittman Ware and I'll be filling in for Lanny today as host. And with me today I have Lauren Faribault. She's one of our senior account executives. And Patrick Pipkin, who is one of our media strategists for both Team SI and Mangum Holcomb Partners, our sister agency. So today we are going to be talking about personas and why personas are a really helpful marketing technique to take something kind of overly broad, like who our audience is or our demographics, and turn it into something kind of quite intimate and useful and tangible for your business and your agency to both agree on how we're going about targeting the folks that we want to buy our services or products. So before we go any further, I want to remind everybody here to share our post on Facebook Live. We're trying to build, we've been building a really great solid audience and we continue to try to do the same. So I am going to do that with y'all right there. Okay, here we are. Share and share now with friends. Done. And if you share with your friends today, we are going to enter your name in a contest raffle to win one of these handy dandy Team SI coffee mugs. They make your coffee more delicious and your marketing
more nutritious.
Exactly. All right, so let's jump into the heart of it. Lauren, you're building personas all the time for your different clients. Tell me why, for some clients, it really makes a lot of sense to go ahead and develop these, not necessarily like super in depth, but they're pretty detailed when we're creating like and there's a lot of times there are several different personas within a campaign of the different people we're talking to. So tell me a little bit more about like why and when that's incredibly useful.
Yeah, so it really helps when you're talking about a target audience. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit broader. And a lot of times there are a lot of different segments within your target audience. So you really want to think about individual people. It really makes your strategy more tangible when you start thinking about people rather than a whole audience. When you think about an individual, their daily routine, their media touch points, what they're doing, what their family looks like, then you really think about concrete ways to reach them as opposed to just thinking about this large audience of ages 25 to 55, that live in Central Arkansas. You're thinking about actual people. A lot of times you incorporate people that you know into those people, so you're really kind of getting into their heads, painting the picture of what an audience is going to look like through an individual persona.
So you're talking about a thing like their daily habits and like their daily media consumption habits and where they're going online or where else or TV or radio to get their their media and message with them and then of course how they consume everything.
Right, exactly. You're really thinking about their day-to-day routines. What kind of things that they're coming in contact with? Are they staying on Facebook all day long? Are they more of a Pinterest user? Mm-hmm. Are they driving by a billboard because they have a long commute to work? Or are they listening to a podcast or listen to the radio on their way to work? So you're really thinking about those daily habits and kind of what all goes into that person.
Gotcha. So Patrick, you work with a lot of our clients on their media plans and going out and buying those different pieces of media. Tell me how you've worked with personas in the past to determine kind of what and where and how much and what kind of media to put together in a media plan for a client.
Right. So like Lauren was saying, putting the persona together really makes it tangible, makes it real, it's a story. I mean, marketing plan really is a story, and these are the characters in it. Mm-hmm. So when you put together those characters and you go through the billboard that they're driving to work on, or when they're bored at work or on their lunch break or something, and they're Googling whatever, going on Facebook, these are all those media touch points. So one, when you're writing the media plan and making it tangible so the story is easy to follow for the client, it also helps on the media buying side, so you're not missing something. As you walk through every day-to-day step throughout somebody's, everyday boring life, whatever, you're gonna hit all these points like, you know what, I never thought about that, and just because I read something online or read some study doesn't mean I necessarily hit that point of, the first thing I do when I roll over in the morning is I grab my phone. Opportunity right there. Go to the phone, what do I do? Check the weather, check Facebook. Those are immediate touch points. So you get into that mindset and you kind of become the character for that moment, and then you can step through it incrementally throughout the day, and then you really are showing a lot of things you wouldn't see otherwise.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Lauren, tell me a little bit more about how you go about building a persona. Give me an example of, a client and, a campaign, and then maybe, two different personas, and then how you go about building
Right.
them together.
So really, when we think about kind of the overall target audience, we're going to think about a persona that's going to fit most people in that audience, because we don't want to, just segment out one little small population. So I work with a lot of healthcare clients. So when we're thinking about healthcare in Central Arkansas, we're going to think about who the decision makers are for healthcare, and that's going to be primarily women. And so we're going to think about, probably a middle-aged woman who's making decisions for her kids, but also starting to make decisions for her parents, because they're aging, they're getting on in years. So we're really just going to start to think about, okay, what's her daily habit like? First of all, we're going to, give her a concrete age. We're going to name her, because that's always fun to do. And really, it's important to kind of get in those details and really kind of, if you're going to name her, don't name her, the popular trending name from now. Think about the names that were popular her birth year, and really do that concrete research, that detail, to really make sure that it fits the actual age. So think about those details. Think about where she's going to live in Central Arkansas, if it's going to be Wright, if it's going to be Conway, if it's going to be somewhere in Little Rock. And that's going to tell you a lot about kind of her daily routine, because she's going to have a lot longer commute coming in from the outskirts of Little Rock as opposed to just in town. Think about what her family looks like. Does she have kids? Is she married? Is she divorced? That's also going to tell a lot about her routine. So once you kind of nail down some of those concrete details, then you start thinking about, okay, when she gets up in the morning, does she have time to go for a run, or is she busy getting the kids around? Is she watching kid programs because her kids are 5 or 6, or is she able to watch Good Morning Arkansas or Daybreak, or any of the local, morning shows because her kids are older? So you're thinking about all of those kind of touch points with media, and again, what she listens to in the car, is she going by the billboards? At work, does she have a chance to get on Instagram, or is she pretty busy, consumed with her job? So you're going to give her a job, you're going to think about really what her daily routine looks like, and also the media that she's touching at night. Is she watching broadcast television? Is she on cable? And that's where a lot of Patrick's research is going to come in, because we're going to be able to see, statistics of those demographics that we have for her.
Yeah, glad you bring up research. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So it's the fun part of the whole media plan is painting the picture and telling the story, but you've got to back everything up. You can't just walk in there and just, here's the person, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, well, where'd you get that information? It's like, well, I kind of made it up. That doesn't really work out very well. So you start with your research. You get your Scarborough, MRI, Pew Research studies, get a lot from Google Analytics or social media trends and all that. You compile all this information, you build out all these details, and from there you get all your media touch points. You find out where are people spending, where is this person, where is this mom spending her time, who is she seeing throughout the day, what is she doing, what are the, does she use her phone, does she use TV, does she see billboards, what are the touch points all throughout the day, and then from there you frame the story around it. So you're really, what you're providing is data in a story form. So it's a lot more concrete, it's a lot more fun to talk through and everything. But then on the flip side, when you get into the discussion side of it of, well, why are they doing this, or why are you going for Pandora instead of traditional radio, or vice versa? It's like, well, this research backs it up, and here's XYZ research to show that.
Gotcha.
But then that's just the persona is the avenue that you deliver it.
Okay. And so, these, tell me a little bit more. You mentioned some of these data sources, like Pew, Scarborough. Tell me a little bit more about the data that they're providing you.
So you can get really broad level, nationwide or regional information from MRI, which just is, many surveys that are aggregated and everything to get trends of different demographics and populations. Then you have more localized information with Scarborough Research. You can get as granular as like how many people in this demographic bought, 1 to 3 lottery tickets this week, type of thing.
Oh wow!
Really granular, more granular local information. Of course, smaller population size, but still you get the local type of thing. And then Pew has just a plethora of everything you can think of. And of course, you've got Google Analytics. If you have access to the website and the GA, you can get information about who's going to the website, when are they there, how long are they staying there. I mean, just all the stuff that's out there on Google Analytics, and so you can get a lot of insights from there to see who these people are. That way you're really identifying their specific target rather than somebody that you don't want your biases to overwhelm the plan. You want to back everything up.
Right, which can be, I think, easy for us on the digital side. A lot of times we say, oh yeah, you're wasting your money on print, or you're wasting your money on this. But I think, because I think you've shared some of the Scarborough research with me before, and we'll actually break things down like, in this, age group of women that are 40 to 55, it might show that like 35 to 45% are still like getting their news in the morning or looking at a physical paper.
Yeah, especially those, for some of the stuff with the older populations and stuff, that you may see a 35 to 45 type of age range of men or whatever that would get all their information online. They at the higher end of that, they are going more and more in that direction, or I'm sorry, maybe a little bit less that direction. But when you go to the higher end of the population, the research would show that they may see some of the stuff online, but they really like to hold that paper. They read through it and flip through it on every Sunday or every morning. That's part of the routine. They've been doing it for years. They're not going to break out of that. So for certain populations, there's value in different medias.
Can you even break it down further? Say, so going back to the paper. Sorry, we're a digital company, but I'm fascinated by this. Could you even break it down further? Say, by showing that how many of this audience, may get the paper on a weekly basis versus just get the Sunday paper.
Yeah, you can break it down by Sunday only, or the five daily days a week type of thing, to see who's reading which one at which times.
Very interesting. Grace, do we have a question?
Lanny Bird says hello, and he has a question.
All right.
How detailed do the personas need to be?
Do you want to take
That's
that?
a good question. You need to have it detailed enough where you know that you can reassure the client that you've gotten in the head of their customer. You know that you know what they're thinking, what they're doing, but you don't want to get so detailed that you isolate people within that target audience. You want to make sure that the details are applicable to the majority of the people in their audience. So you really want to make it detailed enough that you paint that clear picture, that your client is reassured that you know their target audience, you know their routine, but you don't want to get so bogged down in details that you are excluding a large number of people.
Okay. Maybe we could go through like an example of like what a persona really looks like. So I don't know. So like go back to our our healthcare idea. Like we talked a little about I think like a 45-year-old single female, or not single female, but like what if we were looking at maybe a 25 to 30 a female? What and we're looking in, say this is for a general practice or healthcare client. Okay. How would you kind of break that down as far as a persona? So we would start with a name, right?
Right. So name 25 to 30 range. I'm trying to think of
Say she's pregnant.
Say she's pregnant.
She's pregnant.
Okay. All right. Her name say like Jenny or something.
Jenny.
Okay.
Jenny, who is pregnant. So she probably lives in Little Rock, right? Okay.
In the metro area.
Metro area. So, she and her husband, I'm guessing, she's married to Michael, we'll say. So Jenny and Michael live in a small house. They just have like kind of a starter home, and we, make sure and research that they.
Yeah, and they happen to live in the Hillcrest area.
Okay.
They like that. It's the smaller house, starter family, but once you get into the neighborhood, like, okay, I kind of see where they're coming from.
They like to walk through the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Right,
this is their first child.
First child, first home, a lot of firsts going on in their family. So Jenny is, she works for an ad agency in town, let's say. It's a great occupation to have.
It really is.
So, she does that. Michael, just graduated from medical school, or he's probably a little bit older.
Residency.
Yeah, he's in his residency fellowship, so he's going to be a breadwinner there in the family. Once he kind of gets his practice kicked off, but right now they're needing a general GP, right, and probably looking at some women's health specialty services. So you really want to think through also their thought process and their pain points. Along the way, if there are any challenges to get them, because a lot of times people in that millennial generation really don't have a general practitioner. A lot of times, we're more the generation that when something comes up, we're just going to go to an urgent care clinic or might have a specialist that we see. But as far as like a relationship with the family doctor, we don't have that necessarily.
They're not getting physicals every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're not at the age where we're really worried about that. So, you know, you got to think about kind of those pain points and things that are going to go into those decisions from Jenny's perspective. So, you know, we're going to give her an occupation, which we did. We're going to talk about where she lives. But then we're also, once we kind of establish all of that, we're going to start walking through that day in the life, you know, and really look at, okay, she gets up in the morning. She's probably going to work out some because she is pregnant. She's worried about the baby weight. You know, think about all of those little details. What's she going to do? Is she going to work out at a class in the morning, or is she going to go running and listen to Pandora? So, you know, you're kind of going into those details and really kind of making her a character of her own.
Yeah, a character run, and then the, you know, Michael, you have to consider what he has going on as well. He gets in the morning, probably checks his phone, maybe check Facebook, maybe check the weather, then he flip on TV, KTHV, the morning show, and then, so she's going for a run, he's in there, he's getting things ready, he's getting ready for work, going through his routine. Throughout the day, while she's at work, if she's working at an ad agency, chances are she's online a lot. So she's probably using Google a lot. She's using social media. She might Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram.
She's probably listening to Pandora throughout the day.
She's probably watching Facebook Live from time to time. You know, things like that. And then when they get home, you know, if they're coming from the Hillcrest area, they're probably not going down 6:30. So if she's going in downtown, so no, we're not looking at billboards on 6:30 because that's not part of their routine.
But there are some local billboards.
But there are local billboards
like Kavanaugh.
Yeah, there's posters and stuff. So that's something else to consider as part of the story. And then
not a lot of time to listen to radio or
Right,
anything like that. You
No,
know, it's a short commute.
So radio, even a sports radio buy for Michael maybe is not a good idea.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. And so at home, do they watch sports? Do they watch ESPN at night? Do they
on Netflix?
Netflix? Do they cord cutters completely? You know, do they subscribe to anything else?
A Hulu,
something like that. Yeah, and they're probably cord cutters. They probably watch Hulu and Netflix, but then at the same time, they're also on their phones while they're doing that. They're looking at IMDb, looking at, I remember that character from somewhere, and I'm going to see who that is. And so they're on the phone and they're scrolling through and looking stuff up, and you know, watching TV while they eat. Yeah, those details. Looking up recipes online.
Michael might be on, YouTube, looking at different medical education videos, which is a pre-roll opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, cool. Do we have any other questions?
No other
Grace?
questions.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think we've done a really good job of going through the persona and how that's different from, you know, talking about your audiences and your demographics and how this is a little bit more intimate, kind of niche or micro look at your potential customers. Anything else to add before we sign off?
Do your research.
Yeah, do your research.
Do your research.
Yeah, and if you do want to learn more about personas and how building those types of marketing tactics can affect your business and your advertising, feel free to ask a question in the comments. We'll be posting this later on. We'll also be posting it as a podcast, and feel free to call us. We're always happy to talk to. Yeah, call me. We're always happy to talk to new people and new businesses and see what's going to work best for their marketing strategies. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Patrick, for talking to us about personas. And we will see you next Thursday for our Midday Roast. Thanks.